Name a character that went through more pain than her. I'll wait.
Let me tell you about Victor and Charlotte, also known as the twins from the hit asymmetrical horror game Dead by Daylight. They were born into 17th century France, which is not an ideal place to be if you're a genetic freak. They were discriminated against, hunted down by locals, even kidnapped by a cult that wanted to sacrifice them in a ritual, which they barely escaped. At one point, one of them died, leaving the other one alone for years. And this surviving twin was then kidnapped by the Lovecraftian entity, presumably to become a puppet in its alternate dimension for the rest of time. And if you think that this story is bad, their gameplay is somehow even worse. The twins was the first killer to come out in an unfinished state. Not unpolished, not rushed, literally unfinished. Survivors could hop into a locker, and back then Victor had no animation to pull them out, so there was nothing you can do. Eventually, this was patched, but a lot of other issues came in. Their add-ons were terrible, their gameplay was really not smooth, and they had a lot of bugs. But that being said, they were really good at one thing. They were really good at downing multiple survivors, and instead of picking them up and sacrificing them, which is the normal thing to do in Dead by Daylight, you just left them on the ground until they were all completely incapacitated. The developers saw this as an issue, so what they did is they made all of the animations much slower. But this had the opposite effect of what they intended. Now it took so long to pick up a survivor that in some situations, by the time you got there, the survivor was already saved by someone else or even themselves with some perks. This made it even more necessary to leave survivors on the ground, and this killer was left in this state for literally years. We had many updates that made them better, that were immediately reverted, and the only thing that could save us was a full rework, which finally came in the 7.70 update. They changed some of the core mechanics that made the twins feel really sluggish and made them very smooth, but now we had a different problem. They were too strong. Victor could hit you, recover immediately, and hit you less than 5 seconds, no matter how well you were playing, no matter how many resources you had around the map. It was actually ridiculously strong, probably the strongest killer that's ever existed in Dead by Daylight. The developers realized that this was not gonna really work out, so they reversed this again, and we went back to the old twins again. They did keep some of the changes that made them feel a bit smoother, and this should have been the happy ending that the twins really deserved. But we now had a different problem. Bugs. So many bugs. We've seen so many bugs at this point that it's generally difficult to go through all of them. Sometimes your power just doesn't work, or it works but then it gets stuck in animation and you're completely locked and you have to Alt F4. Other times it goes right through a survivor. Other times it bounces right off of a survivor. Some animations sometimes completely go missing or look extremely weird. Honestly, man, it's been 5 years and there's no sign of any of this stopping for the twins. I gotta really feel bad for the people that made this killer.